So on this channel I've learned a little bit about what it's like to live in the big Canadian cities, and I thought what an interesting idea would be to look at what it's like to live in a small Canadian town. So this is what life is like in Canadian small towns. This one specifically I believe is Hafford, Saskatchewan. So I don't know how representative this video is of all small Canadian towns, but I thought it was something that's interesting. I'd love to learn more about these small towns. Obviously, the big cities in Canada look like wonderful places to live. The only drawback is they can seemingly be quite expensive places to live. So small towns could be another option for people, but also I just want to know what goes on, what's life like there. So this video should hopefully answer that question. Tell me if you live in a small Canadian town, what is life like? Have you lived in different small towns? What's the differences between those like? Let's watch this. Can also already see the remoteness of it there. I mean, even a place like this, when you think of Canada, you don't really think of this like sort of dry, arid land with these small sort of, I guess you could say shacks, but like little huts, small houses. Looks very different from what I think people would stereotypically think of Canada, especially the modern cities, the weather. Pizza and beer. That's all you need for a good life, pizza and beer.
Well, hello friends. Welcome to Saskatchewan. Welcome to the middle of Canada. We are currently on my dad's farm, where the nearest town is like 10 kilometers away, and the population of that town is about 500 people. So this is an area of Canada that I highly doubt many tourists come to see, and it's a shame because on the surface it may look like there's really not a lot to see here. There's obviously not a lot going on, but being someone who was raised in Saskatchewan, like I was born in Ukraine, but I grew up here from the age of 5, there's actually so much more beauty and just so many more interesting things that go on in these parts than probably people realize. So in today's video, I wanted to give you guys an inside look of what life is like in these parts. I'm probably gonna have my dad give more of a tour since he's the farmer and lives in this area of what life is like here. So I hope you guys will enjoy this inside look, and let's get to it.
Yeah, so I just want to say, I think this will be interesting maybe if you're from like a large Canadian city, spent most of your time here. It might be a nice insight into life in these smaller towns. Do you know about this sort of lifestyle or these sort of small towns? As I said, have you ever lived in here? Have you ever just been here for like holidays or anything like that? I guess a town with 500 people is not somewhere a lot of people would visit, so this should be quite interesting, I think.
Hello, Pebbles. Aren't you a cutie? Aren't you a cutie? And here's the man, the legend himself, Gordon McLeod. Here with which cat? Who's Blackie. This? Blackie. Very creative names. All right, Dad, what can you tell us about... Wow.
He said it all.
Yeah, he said it all.
I have nothing to add to it. Pebble said it all.
So you've basically been a farm boy all your life, right?
Right.
Where did you grow up?
Caniston.
Thanks. But you grew up like on a farm outside of Caniston, yeah. And so your dad was a farmer too, right?
Born and raised farm all my life.
What age would you say you started helping out on the farm?
Well, when we were quite young, but I started driving the tractor and haul all the grain from the combine at 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as we could push the
12.
clutch in and change gears. We had the job.
You had to go. And so was farming something that you enjoyed right from the get-go, or
Oh,
was
yeah,
kind of just
sure.
the thing to do?
No, well, it's the thing to do. You're brought up to it, but yeah, you enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Your own boss, and you know, you got to do the work, but you have your own schedule too.
Yeah. Blackie.
And then also when you're on the farm, you have all these cats and dogs, which are kind of special for
Fun.
fun or whatever, how they act and what they do.
Yeah. All right, so my dad's got his truck started and we're gonna take you on a little tour of Hafford.
An average house in a small town in Saskatchewan usually costs under 150,000 Canadian dollars. So obviously compared to some of the house prices in places like Vancouver, it's almost like a different country. It's like just ridiculous how much cheaper, but I guess in such a remote area, the lack of demand for housing is probably one of the reasons. When you look at, when you get all this land and things as well, it's like a decent sized house. The value is definitely there, but obviously things like commerce and being able to get a job, it might be more difficult in places like this. But you see those images of just the land that just goes on, it seemingly forever. It looks so remote, but actually it seems like a very peaceful place to live. Even in Saskatchewan can be double the price.
So obviously we're in the...
I just want to say this, like, even this sort of place, it really kind of interests me greatly, being again from Scotland and just being from a big city all my life, living in big cities in Asia. Seeing places like this, it's very interesting. Like, this is in Canada. Like, these are the sort of like houses, or sort of shops. It reminds me of like those old Western movies from the US. See these little cowboy towns with the storefronts like this. Just, yeah, it's something I've really never seen something like this in person before, but it really...
The quarantine right now too, so yeah, things are a lot quieter. The grocery store is still open, Hafford Fine Foods. And the liquor store is also probably
Still
open,
got a liquor
right?
store.
Yeah, we got the pharmacy. And Hafford Cafe looks closed.
Here's the credit union.
Credit union, that's a local bank.
Hall.
Seniors Hall.
And this here is, I forget what they do here, but maybe they have a beauty salon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And here's the insurance agency plus the liquor store.
Oh, okay. Kind of weird that the insurance agency would be with the liquor store.
Yeah.
You need insurance.
It's just so quiet. The central
Well, the thing
school.
about going
Let me
to
just see that
school
school
in a
again.
small-
This is the school as well. It's just so much sparsely populated, so sparse and so much space. Anti-bullying, early dismissal.
Well, the thing about going to school in a small town that I found anyway is you really get to know each other really well because you're literally with the same
Class
15
had
people
19 people.
for 12 or 13 years if you count kindergarten. As I hear in the bigger schools, I don't personally know because I've never been, they usually actually go to like one certain elementary school, then they go to a middle school, then they go to like high school. I think those are like the 3 levels or whatever. Yeah. So in a small town, not only are you in a very close-knit community where everybody knows everyone and thinks they know everything about everyone, but you basically spend your whole, education with the same people every day. Strangely enough, Hafford actually has a mini sort of hospital where they have one doctor or like a nurse practitioner to do the very basics of healthcare, but just behind it here they do have a seniors/nursing home. So this is actually quite special for a small community to have. And as you guys can see, they actually got a Ukrainian Catholic church here in the town because Saskatchewan in general, about probably 70 years ago or so, was giving a lot of immigration proposals to people from Ukraine. So there's actually a lot of Ukrainians besides me who live in Saskatchewan and just the prairies here in Canada in general. And as you can see, they've built a lot of their own churches here as well.
Really cool architecture.
I was going to get up and dance.
Well, you can do that too.
I'm heading south. They tell me that it's warm down there. They tell me that there's people I should meet already down there. I'm packing up a suitcase, taking my guitar, heading out somewhere in a rusty old car. Birds singing in the front yard, sun's been shining all day. Weather's been just fine, singing sheep down our way. There's got to be a reason for it, darling. I just can't explain how the hell would together. All it wants to do is rain.
Alright guys, we're with my dad's friend
Nice voice.
Clarence, and he is a wonderful musician. And Clarence, since we're talking about living in a small town, what brought you here? Like, why did you choose this town?
I prefer a small town as opposed to the big city. I was born in a small town and raised on a farm, and I like the slower pace. Hafford's pretty slow.
Yeah. But you've played music like all your life too, since you were small.
Yes, the whole family was musical. My father had music stores, and we were always around the music, played in bands and all kinds of bands, polka bands, rock and roll bands, country bands.
Yeah.
Even took some Beethoven, Tchaikovsky.
Oh wow, blend.
All that kind of stuff, yeah.
So where do you see your music, like, or where would you like to see it go in the future? Like, would you like to do like live shows? Would you like to put out an album? What would you like to do with it?
I would like all of the above.
Yeah.
to an extent. I like writing a lot. I like working with the words. I like the lyrical.
And you write all your own stuff, right?
Yes, yes I do.
That's awesome. Well, for anybody interested, we're going to link Clarence's YouTube channel in the description. So he's probably going to have more stuff coming up on there. So if you want to check out his stuff, make sure you guys click the link below.
Yeah, go subscribe to his channel. Yeah, that's really cool. So I guess the question she asked there at the beginning is like, why do you prefer? Why did you move to a small town? Why do you prefer? If you do live in a small town, tell me the reason for that. Would you ever consider going back to a big city? Like, I can see the definite benefits of it. Like, as I said, the slower pace of life. Living in a big city can be stressful. Even things like the pollution, things like that. In some big cities, I guess, Canadian big cities, not as bad as some like here in Asia. But places like this, I just still feel like I would find it difficult to live in a place like this because I prefer being near all the amenities and things I need to get by like in life. This might be a bit too remote somewhere like this, but I can really see why people would move to a place like this.
So the thing about small towns that I think a lot of people wonder about is, what do people actually do for work outside of them just being a farmer in case they have land? So what would you say in Hafford, like what would people do as a job?
Well, there's a grocery store, a pharmacy, a bank,
yeah,
insurance agency,
yeah,
with a liquor store, and then there's a nice eating place or restaurant. And then on the north side of the highway, there's one gas station on the west side, and then there's the other side. They got the Co-op Agro, and they deliver fuel and got hardware, and they hire quite a few people there. There's probably 6 or 8 people or more that work there.
But overall, you'd say in these kinds of parts and in like small towns in Saskatchewan in general, most people have something to do with agriculture,
yes,
right?
But in the small towns, there'll be quite a few senior people.
Oh yeah,
because it's a cheaper place to live.
Yeah.
But they also have a school here from grades 1 to 12.
Yeah.
So they have that many school teachers too. So
True.
What about the quality of education there? Is it still a high level of education? If you were a teacher, would you be attracted to moving to a place like this to teach? Also, I guess like with regards to working, these days with work from home being so prevalent, then I feel like a lot of people could easily move to a place like this, work from home. I don't know how the internet is in a place like this. Would you imagine these small towns, do they have good internet access? But you could work from home, and when you're finished your work, you're just living in this like really beautiful remote place. So I think it, like, even if you don't want to work in one of these sort of industries or these jobs or like shops and things like that, you can still work from home in a place like this and have quite a nice life, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've always said that back in your day, there were so many people that lived out on the farm or lived in smaller sort of communities, but now it's becoming less and less because people are choosing to move to the big cities. Even here in Saskatchewan, we have Saskatoon. So these smaller towns are getting even smaller,
yeah,
right?
well, the farmers are getting so much bigger, so there's not many people living out in the country now.
Yeah.
It's quite sad to hear that. I guess there's towns in Canada that probably have, there might be ghost towns that people don't know, that like no longer people live there, that really have even smaller than 500 people populations. It's really sad that like when you think about these like maybe towns that were once a bit more thriving and people just start to kind of desert them, and yeah, it's like sad in a way, like so much history in these small towns, but people just want to move to the big cities, which is understandable. They want to earn more money and things like that, but hopefully maybe with like people working from home more, that these small towns can become a bit more populated.
as you guys can see, there is still snow on the ground. It's basically the end of April. And yeah, this is Saskatchewan weather in a nutshell.
Whoa, minus 40, 50 degrees Celsius.
So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This was life in a small town / rural Saskatchewan. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought, and if you've ever been to Saskatchewan, I would love to know. And I think I'm going to try and do one more video while I'm here, probably more on farming, because I think that's actually a fascinating and very crazy profession. So we'll get my dad's input on those types of things, because there's a lot of factors that I don't think people ever consider when they think about farmers. So I think that would be an interesting video. And just in a few days, I'm actually going to be heading back to Toronto, to my home. Things in Canada are getting better, I think, as it is in the whole world, thankfully. So I'm hoping that trend continues, so I'll be able to start planning an actual trip for sometime this year. And just on that note, I wanted to give a big shout out to my amazing Patreon patrons, the people who are supporting me on there. Like, thank you so much, especially in this period, because this is not what exactly I had planned. So thank you so much for supporting me on there, and if you do enjoy my content, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put a link in the description. And other than that, I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Keep being your own kind of beautiful, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.
Cool. Yeah, really interesting insight into small town life in Canada. Again, something I knew nothing about, and I definitely want to learn more, want to see other small towns and see the life in those as well, see how they differ, compare. Tell me if you relate to this, if you're from a small town. Tell me more about your life in these small towns. I just want to hear people's experiences and learn more. But for me, very interesting. Hafford, Saskatchewan. Yeah, thanks.